Welcome to the Resilient Rebel Show. I am your host, Elian Haan. If you're exhausted from holding it all together, if you're stuck in a cycle of burnout, self-doubt, or waiting for that someday, you are in the right place. This is where we stop apologizing for who we are, start telling the truth, and take our power back. One bold, messy, beautiful step at a time. You belong here. Let's rise, rebel, and rediscover joy. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the first part of The Art of Aging, a Resilience Reset. This is a six-part conversation about resilience, about renewal, and about radiance. We hear the word resilience all the time nowadays. Be resilient, stay strong, keep going. But many of us were taught a version of resilience that simply meant pushing through, staying busy, and not letting anyone see how tired we really are. And this series invites you into a different conversation. I've done this series as a course just this year in March, and I'm just going to break it up in a few different episodes. Together, in this series, we will look at what current psychology and neuroscience will tell us about resilience. We're going to explore how the nervous system responds to stress, how we can recover, how we renew, how we can build practices for ourselves that support us through every age and every stage in life. This is not necessary for midlife. You would love to hear this when you're younger at any time in life. This is your resilience reset. And I will also introduce the 5 keys to resilience, to radiance, and to renewal. It's just a practical framework that I will go in over the next couple of episodes in this series to help you protect your energy and reclaim your rhythm during the day. You'll find clarity. You'll practice more compassion for yourself and others and return to yourself over and over again. This first episode is a gentle beginning. I will start with a slideshow and introduce to you what we are now saying about resilience. We will define resilience. We will talk about how it matters now more than ever and how to keep this practice alive in everyday life. Aging is not about becoming less, right? It's about becoming more fully you. And I like to share the slideshow with you today so that we can go into this beginning, this opening, this first introduction session together. So let me find this here on my screen and go to the first slide. So I'm also always talking about the art of aging, right? We are getting older. We are definitely, hopefully, getting to a better place. One of my quotes is always, life does not get any easier, but you get better at it. And so it's aging. You just, you get better at it. And it's not something that you have to fix all the time, although there's a lot of talk about longevity nowadays. So maybe we are adding another 10 or another 20 years to our lives, but it is really something to master. So I want to share over the next couple of shows 5 stages to be well and feel well through ages and stages. And every age is, every stage in life asks something new from you. I refine or I refer to my early 20s when everything was new and exciting and everything just started again. But I also had to say goodbye, right? Have to say goodbye to home. You're going to study. Then you have to say goodbye to your college friends and dive into the unknown. And then maybe you're going to start new jobs. Maybe you're going to start a trade that will just kind of keep you engaged. It also kind of keeps you feeling anxious sometimes, right? Because everything is new and everything is at the same time becoming already a goodbye or becoming old or becoming, in the past. So that is in your 20s and in your 30s and 40s. We are so busy living life. We are so busy with career, with finances, with family, with raising maybe a family. So it's a whole different stage in our life than in our 50s. We do have a little bit more time to come to reflection, I always call that. And we have time to sit with it. We have the time to say, well, What did we miss out on? What did we do that we wouldn't have done before? Did we make some choices that we are not really behind right now? How can we change, fix, or even stay with the same things, right? So I always say if you look back at the things you want to drop. Look at the things that you want to keep. Look at the things that you want to change, and look at the things that you want to start new. Right? There's different things that we can do together. So we're going through different stages in life, and it is just every time moving, adapting, renewing over and over. So the first thing I always say, also with my clients as an executive coach, I say to my clients, move and move forwards. You want to always move forwards and move up, engaging with your life on new terms. That means that you are just not very rigid, but you strive to a fluid response. We've always response, not reactions, right? We get better at that as well. And we're gonna say that aging asks for motion and more even so physical. We gotta stay mentally engaged. We gotta stay emotionally engaged. We are working to that emotional intelligence where we don't immediately react anymore, and we don't go immediately in our head, or we don't go immediately with an emotional reaction, but our responses are more refined. And then of course we have to adapt and honor what each stage is actually asking. What is it asking when you're in your 50s? What is it asking when you're in your 60s or 70s? Do you really take more time for self? Do you actually really know what that is, and can you feel it in? As an example, I work with women in midlife that have raised families and were heavily engaged in social life and marriage, in celebrations, in the difficulties of life with family. And now maybe at some point when you step out of that, maybe your career is changing. You're going through a career transition. You're going through family transitions, and kids are gone. Then if you're coming by yourself and you're by yourself in front of the mirror and you're asking, who am I? Right? What is my purpose? What am I to do? Right? We have to honor what that stage is asking. And sometimes you really feel that kind of stuck in your 50s, and you can reflect on the past, but also start something new. So what worked in the 30s is not working in your 50s. We know that. And that renewal, that starting towards something that might engage you and get you really passionate, that is also needing to step into resilience. And resilience is built in moments of pause, not in waiting for that someday, right? We're just going to step into moments of pause and again, see what worked and see what didn't work. And just over time, choosing some smaller resets, really allowing ourselves the time to do so. And the way we do that, we are definitely less overwhelmed. We just take a pause. What current research is saying about resilience and the nervous system and stress and our human capacity is that we are not simply busy, but in these sign of times, in these times, I call it sign of times, we are neurologically more overwhelmed. Absolutely. I call that an influx of television, news, a variety of sources coming to you during the day, all that we see on the telephone, all that we see on our little cell phones and devices. We are overwhelmed with everything else that comes to us. We are emotionally fatigued, mentally, a bit scattered and physically depleted and spiritually disconnected. And this is just kind of overall. You might relate to one, you might relate to two of these. You might say, yes, that's definitely what I feel. I work with people in burnout so much that are experiencing burnouts. And it's all these, right? Neurologically overwhelmed, emotionally fatigued, mentally scattered, physically depleted, spiritually disconnected. And how can we heal? How can we go into healing ourselves on all these points, right? Resilience has become one of these most discussed topics across leadership, wellness, psychology, corporate culture, trauma recovery, human performance, and just for this good reason. We are living in a time of chronic overload. And you can see that in these 5 points. This is chronic overload. Absolutely. It is no longer what we thought it was. We used to think it was just pushing through, be tough at all costs, or ignore pain, endless productivity, right? Just keep going, keep going. That makes you resilient, makes you strong. Performing strength, looking strong, while you're silently suffering. And these thought patterns, they have shifted dramatically over the last decades, and modern research now defines it as something much deeper and more human. It is much deeper and more human. It is not the absence of struggle, but it is the capacity to move through it with awareness, regulation, and renewal. And one of my coaching methods is really about that. We call it the 4M method. It is moving through, moving with, moving forwards, and moving up. And what that means, I'll explain to you in later episodes. It's really just the capacity to move through, being more aware, just knowing that we have something going on. I always say we don't have anxiety, but we feel anxious, stressed, flushed, warm. Our body heats up. We feel we need to kind of sit in the closet. Our body tells us. Then what our brain stores, and then our body stores that at a deeper level. It always starts in our body. And so we feel anxious. We do not have anxiety. It's not a lifetime thing. It's not something that you can even use as an excuse or sometimes even hide behind. Sometimes for some people, it even becomes their identity. I'm an anxious person. I have anxiety. But that doesn't have to be that lifetime sentence. We can do a lot of things about anxiety. But we want to be aware of the fact that we think and speak like that. Then we can regulate and then we can start renewal. So, what is this resilience exactly? Our nervous system can recover from stress. Our mind can regain perspective. Our body can return to regulation. And our emotional system can stay flexible instead of really collapsing or hardening. And that is what resilience nowadays means. Our system is resilient. We can recover from stress, regain perspective, return to regulation, and stay flexible during. It is really important that nowadays we understand this. There's so many more things that we have learned about the somatic part behind what's going on in our life, right? Why is our body storing trauma? Why is our body storing pain and experiences? And why does that stay there while our mind is thinking, well, I should be over that. I should have been done. I should be done with that. It is really important that we are working on the ability to adapt, the ability to recover and regulate, and then grow through that stress or that adversity, these challenges, these changes, these transitions in life. It just means that we can recover. We can do this, and that we have to be aware of it. So nowadays, research increasingly describes resilience as adaptive capacity, nervous system flexibility, emotional regulation, recovery ability, and sustainable functioning under pressure. And that is a lot of information. So over the next couple of episodes, I will definitely go into that, what we can do, starting with my 5 points for that resilience reset and how you can help yourself being more aware, catching things that are around you that are happening, and what you can do to respond emotionally and also your body. What can you do for your body? What can you do for your mind? What can you do for your nervous system? So again, it's the capacity to stay human under pressure. It's not a cycle, and it's a cycle, it's not a train. I said that wrong. Resilience is a cycle, right? So we have activation, stress signals arrive in our body, Regulation, right? We want to start breathing, grounding, and have a really perspective shift so that we can settle our system. We feel this in our body, but now we go to regulate it. Now, while we do that, in this circle, we can recover. Our nervous system returns back to baseline, and clarity, somewhat clarity comes back. Sometimes we can see at this point we can see things a little bit more clear. Then we can adapt to it. Our mind can integrate what happens. And now we can update our behavior, our responses. And we can step into action with renewal. Our capacity expands. The next stressor finds you more whole. You get better at it. Life keeps happening, right? You get better at it. So activation, regulation, recovery, adaptation, and renewal. An A and R and an R and an A and an R. We have to use that over the next 5 episodes. And the loop repeats. But like I said, the circle widens your capacity. So we're going to walk through it by stage and stage, right? In that activation, our chest is really tightening, our breath shortens, our eyes narrow, the threat is detected. There is a response or reaction to stress. Something external, something big happens. Our body is stepping into that activation. Regulation could be a long exhale, feeling the floor, just kind of activating the senses, feeling your jaw, just a big breath, and just slowly, slowly, slowly coming back into feeling and being aware of your body. And then that recovery is that your shoulders will drop. That's always the first sign, right, that I can see with my clients and patients. Shoulders are next to your ears. When something happens, so the shoulders will drop, your vision returns, the room comes back into focus. And then we're going to go to adaptation. You hear the actual concern under the pushback and you're going to respond. You're not going to overreact. And then renewal comes after. A short walk, the pattern. This pattern is now yours. This pattern, you make it your own. This pattern becomes you. This pattern becomes you when something happens again. Let's say that in an example here, right? There's an example here that it's Tuesday morning. A senior exec pushes back on your strategy in front of the whole team. What are you going to do? You're going to go into super stress response. Your chest tightens, your breath shortens, your jaw locks. And that's normal. We don't want to be called out in front of a group, in front of the whole team. We don't want to necessarily be shown our shortcomings, right? What happens next is what you do with that. You feel that activation, you're going to regulate it, you're going to recover. And this can all be in a few minutes so that you're not going in a full-blown panic attack, but you regulate and you come into that recovery, that awareness, that adaptation, and that renewal. I hope this stays with you. I hope this resonates with you. I hope that you are going to practice with me. And I hope that you are over the next couple of weeks are going to step into these responses, these 5 ways with me to really get better at it, to really get better at resilience and do a full resilience reset with me. Over the next 5 weeks, I will go again into that emotion regulation, physical movement, what it can do for you, social connection, how important is that? Finding your meaning and purpose, and the importance of sleep and recovery. This adds, all adds to you becoming emotionally more, mentally more, physically more resilient. So according to research, this is all very important, and I will go into and tie that into my 5 points, my method. I hope to see you over the next 5 weeks. I hope you listen. I hope you watch. And we're going over the 5 keys: self-compassion, renewals, boundaries, creating clarity, and rhythm over routines. And of course, I hope you listen and I hope you give me some feedback. I'll see you next time.